Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with SamPaul. I am in the lovely Uraidla Republic Cafe and I'm joined today by my lovely guest Andrew.
How you doing?
Who is known around the place as a busker on the keyboard, but it's improvised, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
So,
for sure.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind for me is what got you into that? Like, how'd you start? Because most people when they busk, they kind of have a set list and they're like, okay, this is the songs I'm going to play, and they'll go to their location and they'll play. But I don't know too many that are doing improv, which I think is friggin' amazing.
Oh, cool.
What possessed you? No.
Well, it was a couple of different things. I've been a keyboard player for a long time. Well, when I say keyboard player, I've played the keyboard for a long time, but never really sort of in any capacity. And I used to wander through the mall for a little while, I don't know, 2007, 2008, and there was a busker playing the electric, I don't know what it was, lute? No, I forget what it's called, mandolin.
Oh, yeah.
It was really good, and it was kind of had this bizarre Middle Eastern kind of flavour to it, and it was like frantic and really good. And I always thought, yeah, I'm going to do that one day, and I think I was just too scared, and I didn't do it. And then some life things changed, and all of a sudden I had no money. There was no money. I paid my rent. There was no money left. I thought, well, I'm going to die. What am I going to do?
Thank God you didn't.
Yeah. So I took my last $26, bought some batteries and a bus ticket, and took my keyboard into the city using the cardboard box from it as the stand. I didn't know what I was going to do, and went and played. I think I made $13. So it was enough to go in and do it again, but I thought, yoo-hoo, and the next day it was $16 and then $23, and I'm like, hey, this is going somewhere. So that's kind of how it started. Then just the ad lib, I didn't know what people were going to make of that. I thought people might be like, hey, this is not really very good. What the hell is he doing, But thankfully it didn't go that way.
No, I mean, from my when I first heard of it, when you mentioned to me that's what you're known for, my first thought is, well, this is something different. And I think, I think we all love music to some capacity, some more than others. Like, obviously, we're pretty massive music fans. Some people just like it as a background noise, but when it becomes improv, so you don't know what to expect, I think that just adds a new element, and I think that's a really cool idea, that you've gone with. I do recall you mentioned too that you used to play in some bands at one stage.
I was originally singing in a band called The Babes.
Yep.
They're actually really, really successful. They just had this thing about them. You could just tell they were gonna do really well. So I was with them for about a year. They've been all over the world since, which is really cool. Yeah, they were really good. And then I had my own band called S04E09.
Okay, that's a cool name.
So I would. Thank you.
What's the idea behind idea?
Well, I wanted something that sounded.
I was trying to be clever there.
I know what you mean.
Think
It's all good. It's all good. I think I just wanted something that sounded like. Well, interestingly, it is a car name now, but I wanted something that almost sounded like a sleek, exotic sports car, kind of like Lamborghini, kind of. I wanted something that was like that, something that sounded a little bit ancient, a little bit modern, almost a little bit biblical, all of those things. I sort of came up with it, and it turns out you can't make up any new words. So, there's a river called the Uraidla River in Poland, but that's right, I'm part Polish, so it ties in. And interestingly, now Poland has a car company called Uraidla, so all my SEO down the tubes.
Oh wow! So they basically stole your idea and ran with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have the .com. Oh man, if I had the .com, I'd be doing so well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can still take pride in knowing that you had an idea that someone else thought was a great idea for a car name, because you said you wanted something exotic like a Lamborghini, and someone's obviously thought, hey, that's really cool, and not implying that they took that idea from you necessarily, but you were on the same sort of wavelength. What do they say? Great minds think alike.
Yeah, cool.
Or my grandma used to tell me, fools never differ, but I prefer the first. my granddad, I'll tell you what, she had some great sayings. I remember whenever I'd say something she thought was clever, she'd go, geez, you got more than shit for brains.
That's awesome. The positive reinforcement. That's cool.
I know, it would never go down in this kind of era, but back when she said it, that was the norm, do you want me to give you something to cry about, those kind of things, that we all grew up on in our kind of era, but
I love
it. So have you ever obviously I'm guessing when you were in the bands you probably did recording at some point. Do you have any albums that you recorded with your improv keyboard work?
Yeah. I made a bunch of CDs, and I used to sell them to people in the mall. So I used to name them after Commodore 64 programs. So
I love it.
Crack Out and Fast Hack 'em and Choplifter.
Oh my God, my childhood coming back to me now.
Only one person, who interestingly I'm friends with now, only one person ever picked they were Commodore 64 names, but I thought more people might have. But yeah, so I sold like thousands of those actually. I'd run home and print them out on my computer and hand draw the logo on them.
I love that. That's so good. That's like so like DIY punk style.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I guess I took a lot from that kind of thing. Yeah, DIY punk, well, like that post-punk that if you don't do it, no one's going to do it.
Yeah,
it's rough around the edges. There's, I don't aspire to perfection at all.
Yeah.
But I'm not sloppy either. But it's just effectiveness. I'd rather not be a perfectionist, but if there's one of those things for effectiveness, that would be what I aspire to.
I like that.
To be as effective as possible, not as perfect as possible.
Exactly, and I dare say, like, no matter how much you attempt to do the same every time, there's always going to be that slight imperfection. Kind of like when you're doing a vocal take, you always, you want to do a bunch of takes that are as close to each other as possible so you can layer them and whatever, but there's always going to be those slight imperfections between them that differentiate between the two or three different takes. And the same would be with your CD covers, so that they're like essentially one-offs. Hand drawn and...
That's right. Some people say, can I get your autograph? I'm like, dude, I just hand drew the CD. Yeah. That's your, they're all different. Like, they look the same, but, the Z might be different on one, or the E, or whatever, or a bit to the left or the right. So, but I still get people, if I'm out and about busking, I'll be like, dude, I just had your CD in my car. It's still in my car after all these years.
So good.
Yay,
What a good feeling is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I had, I can't think of his name now. My brain's going to go blank. I had another musician on at the start of the season 4, and he gave me one of his CDs, and I've still got that in my car now. He's like a blues kind of player, and I love that. I love the thought that I can have these CDs of people that I know, and the quality is just like on par with anything I would buy from the shops.
There are some really good people out there. There's a sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, this is about you, man. This is not about me. You cut me off anytime.
This bit's about all of us, but like, I think, I don't know if this is okay for the channel and stuff. There's nothing controversial with it. But on that topic, I think genuine creatives, this is a really, really strange time for genuine creatives. The tools are out there now to be able to do the most remarkable work, and there are people churning stuff out in their bedrooms now that is just like properly, of such a level, and you can't do anything with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost impossible to do anything with it. People are making this gold at home. I met, actually there's a hip hop guy, you like hip hop. There's a guy called Design here in Adelaide. I can hook you up and it's through the roof. Like, through the roof. Like, hands down, the best stuff I've heard coming out of the country, I think. To me, that's just to me.
That's it.
I was like, how can this guy not be famous? Like, how can this guy not be? It is so good. It is competitive on all fronts. I'm like, what is going on?
I guess that really highlights what I feel is one of the biggest issues in the creative space, is that it's not the best that always make it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all you basically need all the stars to align. You need to be in the right place. You need to have the quality work. You need to have the right work ethic. You need to have met the right people, and have all this stuff happen. And that's not to detract from those who have made it. Like, the Hilltop Hoods are incredible artists, and they deserve every success that they've had. But part of that is all those stars aligning for them. But there are artists out there that are incredible, like that. Just like with Design, was it? That like Design that hopefully will find that success, but quite often, artists like that will fall by the wayside and not ever get the shine. I mean, look at Sugar Man. You know what I mean? He didn't get
Rodriguez.
Yeah, he didn't get that. He didn't get recognition.
He's like one of my heroes,
but he didn't get the worldwide recognition he deserved until right at the end of his, I guess, life, because he passed away, didn't he?
Just recently.
So you know what I mean? Like, thankfully he, I guess he got recognised eventually, but we just don't seem to put the same shine to people that we feel deserve it. Like.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think about that a lot and the different factors. I think there's a couple of, obviously can't go into it all here, I guess, but I
think... You can talk about whatever you want on here, man. With
that sort of thing, I I think there's a lot of factors that come into it. Good products don't necessarily sell themselves. There's social relevance. I think would be the number one. That's your ticket. It doesn't mean you're going to win the lottery, but I think social relevance. If it doesn't fit the decor, like in here,
this place is incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. But only certain things are allowed. Even if they love it, they might think, yeah, look, I love whatever it is, but it doesn't fit. So I think music needs to fit the rest of the soundtrack to that person's life. Otherwise, it's just this, what the hell was that? This.
Yeah.
There's too much of a jump. There's a whole bunch of things, I guess, but...
Yeah, I also feel too, coming from a musical perspective of my own, I grew up in an era where like men were supposed to show emotion or feelings and all that, whereas I think in order for my music to connect with people, I need to be showing that authentic, no holds barred feelings and emotions. And so for me, it's been a real struggle because it goes against the way I was raised, and so I know there's other people out there that probably come from that kind of Gen X-y type era where, and before that probably had the same struggles, that they want to be authentic and share these emotions and these feelings so that they connect with others, but at the same time they were raised to not do that, so that's something that I personally have sort of struggled to kind of I guess those barriers I've tried to break down over time.
Right. That's an interesting point. I was never lucky enough to have a dad around, so I never got to bounce into that kind of a problem. You can tell where you're at by the problems you got.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that, man.
No, it's all good. It's not like a sore point. Maybe I should actually maybe cut that bit out because I don't want to make anyone watching feel awkward.
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to get better at not saying things that make anyone uncomfortable.
That's a very
tread
admirable...
there all the time. I'm always
look, at the end of the day, though,
sorry.
Just remember though that stepping out of that comfortness and being uncomfortable, that's where people grow the most.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're able to, put people in that way, but in a safe space, because you're a very approachable kind of,
cool.
like you have a really nice vibe about you, and so if you can put someone in that uncomfortable space, but with the safeness that you bring, that's a good thing because they're going to grow from that. So.
Okay. Well, I have to work on doing it in a safe way.
Yeah. Well, you don't strike me as a dangerous kind of vibing person. Like, I don't feel like if you said something and I didn't like that you're going to, So, I could be wrong. I mean,
no, I'm not like
I
that.
like Jeffrey Dahmer too. No, I'm not kidding.
No, it's all good. No, I'm easy going. But yeah, I just thought, I guess I just speak how I am and how I feel. And I guess I'm used to the discomfort of, dealing with the who and what we are, and I forget that not everyone else is as used to doing that. That's not like tickets on myself. That's just, if everything's running fine, you don't look under the bonnet.
Of course not.
My stuff's not running that fine, so I've got to look under the bonnet regularly.
Yeah, I like the analogy.
So I get used to getting under there. That's the carby, it's the this and that. But if you're not a mechanical mind, you're not going to, so again, I'm just, and I don't want to cause any uncomfort to you viewers out there. I love you guys.
I find that I don't think you're going to do that, mate. I think you seem like a very gentle soul. Like that's just my first impressions, and I know that while society believe first impressions are very important, at the same time I also know that there's more to people than the first impression, so I'm never I try not to judge just based on that, but at the same time when I get a good vibe from someone I'm gonna mention it, and that's instantly when you were so welcoming when I walked in here, like not to suggest that any of my other guests haven't been, but like, I guess one thing my mum used to try to teach me when she was still here was to trust my instincts, and instinctually I felt very comfortable when I walked in here, and you waved across the room to tell me where you were, and like I think that's a good thing, man. Like I don't think you've got to worry too much about the issues you were mentioning before about making others uncomfortable, and that I don't get the impression that you really would probably do that too much.
Cool.
And certainly not from an intentional point of view, which I think intent plays a big part in how people receive things. If they can tell that your intent wasn't, of malice or, anything like that.
Intent.
So,
yeah. Good point.
I have to ask you something, just because I feel like you might have some really good perspective on this. So I had a conversation with another music artist a little while back, and we're talking about the change, because you mentioned before about how we can make music of professional quality in our bedrooms now. Like for me, one of the first artists that I became well aware of that was The Streets.
Oh, yeah.
When he first burst on the scene, he'd recorded the whole album, original pirate material, in his bedroom essentially, and it was like, and that was like, oh wow, well if he can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? Like that was probably the first time when I thought, hey, maybe there's something I can do here.
That's cool.
From my bedroom,
Yeah.
But what it also raises is this whole digital versus analog kind of attitude. There's a lot of like the old schoolers and even some new school kind of producers that believe analog is superior, and then there's those that are like, well, no, digital is like way better quality, and like I think they're both right in a way. And I guess where I'm going with this, and what I want to ask you is, I have this theory that one of the reasons why a lot of the people that grew up in the analog era don't like or don't relate to or don't connect with current music is because a lot of it's done in a digital setup studio. We've gone from where we might have used 3 mics on a drum kit to now there's not too many studios that will record a drum kit with anything less than 8 mics. Every little piece is all, and it's like fundamentally it's sort of more perfect. You're able to control every little element of that kit, for example, and that's just the drum kit, not even getting into the guitar or the bass or whatever. But we're not perfect, and so I feel like there's this disconnect between people that are obviously, imperfect, which we all are, with this almost perfect recording ability, and so we're losing something in that translation between an imperfect listener and a perfect recording.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's the fault of digital so much as the other thing, like the people growing up with the analog stuff, most people, the most impressionable between the ages of 14 and 25.
Yep.
And so for the average, unless you're like an avid music buff in whatever capacity, whether that's listening, making, whatever, unless you're passionate about music, you don't just... Most people, if you look at the growth of their record collection or CDs or tapes, whatever you got.
I got all 3.
When you're young, boom, the rapid growth. After that, you're only adding things very selectively, so it tapers off because
that's a really good point.
Outside of the 25-year-old, now you're worrying about your job more, and that's Triple M even openly admit, we're at this demographic between this and this age group, so we're playing. They know, you know what I mean? When people are between that age group, that's their most impressionable, that's when they're doing their musical discoveries, all the rest of it. And so it's not so much that digital is, that most people aren't discerning enough to even be able to tell analog from digital on a sound quality, unless they're really astute and working in the industry. And I think even then, most of the good guys know that they're both tools. It just depends how you use them. The perfection side of it, I think, is more an engineering thing, or maybe an artist requirement, because when my skills are quite limited, so my recordings don't sound particularly perfect, you know what I mean? Because I can't afford the luxury of perfection, so I have to, Nirvana on your shirt, they're always, for me, they hold a good spot for that, where you just do it and make sure it's as effective as possible. So again, but I think that's why...
So you're using to put in the best of what you've got.
Forward. I can't put perfection or anything forward, so I try to offer effectiveness and do the best I can, and I get 136 views for it, which I'm really thankful for everyone who looks at anything like that. But I think that's more, it's not so much a digital versus analog thing in terms of listening. I think it's more of just that generation closed the door on accepting all sorts of stuff. It's not their time now. It's somebody else's time,
Yeah, fair enough. That's a very good perspective. I like that. I like that. Thank you so much, and thank you to this lovely cafe up in Uraidla for having me. Pleasure, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening and watching. We're out.